Who here remembers when they weren't a Toastmaster? Think for a second, I know it's hard. Do you remember the days you were not a Toastmaster? Can you transport yourself back there for a little bit? I want you to tell me something about yourself that not many people know from before you were a Toastmaster. So get that, something that not many people know about you. What if you're a bungee jumper and no one really knows that about you? That's what I want. So I'm going to pass around these papers. I want each of you to write down one thing that most people don't know about you. And near the end of Amy's presentation, I'm going to come and collect them, and then we'll do something fun with them later. Really fun. There should be no counting involved. So, something most people don't know about you. And they're not immune. I'm giving them papers too. We're going to do a mock demo meeting. For those who's been involved in a demo meeting before? Just a handful, really, just a handful. So the purpose of this is to show how it's not that difficult and how few people you can do it with and how to do it so that it creates excitement. That's what we're after. Now here's what I need you to do. This is your job. You have to participate in this as if you are not Toastmasters, as if you are complete newbies. That's how I want you to think, and there will be places where we're going to need your feedback, but you have to do it as a non-Toastmaster, so a little bit of brain stretching here. So we're going to start out with an overview as we would normally do. Then we're going to have a speech and an evaluation and some table topics having to do with those little yellow sheets. So we think this is going to be great fun, and we hope that you will participate fully. And remember, for this half hour, you're not a Toastmaster. Please welcome our District Director, Amy Campbell, to give us a little Toastmasters overview.
Welcome, everyone. I can imagine that some of you found us through some strange and bizarre ways. Possibly you saw it in a newspaper. Maybe it was a coworker. How many of you had a spouse tell you that you need Toastmasters? Oh, one individual, excellent. There's always one in every crowd. And Toastmasters is by far something that it baffles people. But once you get into it, it will change your life in ways that you never even imagined. Now, I know some of you must be wondering, well, of course, great, Toastmasters, it's going to change my life. Moving on, Amy, who are you? Right. So my name is Amy Campbell. I am approximately 42 years old. I say approximately because I am exactly 42 years old. I have had a career that has done many different changes throughout. I began my career thinking I was going to be world's best accountant. It took me 2 years to realize I hated accounting, and it took me 4 years to realize I'd rather stick a pen in my eye and swirl it around than do another month end. But that came with its difficulties, because I was the individual who was absolutely petrified to speak to my manager. And in some cases, I had coworkers that I could not figure out how to speak to in terms of budget and finance, the topics I was supposed to be the subject matter expert in. And lo and behold, this one day, I got pulled into a meeting with my senior boss, or my senior manager at that time, and he brought me in, and I sat there listening to absolutely everything that the senior executives were talking about. Absolutely everything. I was taking it in like a sponge. I sat there, I listened, I was quiet, I was silent. I did nothing in that meeting but absorb. When the meeting ended, he pulled me out, and he actually pulled me aside. And I thought, oh dear, it didn't sound like a good tone. And what he said to me was, Amy, if you ever do that to me again, we are going to have bigger words than what we are having right now. And I was dumbfounded, because this was a gentleman who had taken me under his wing, had mentored me 8 ways to Sunday, had given me every ounce of knowledge I knew about that project that was happening. And yet I sat there silently. That's why he was angry. And he continued on, and he said, I brought you into that meeting because you know what's going on, and you sat there as I just told you. And you said nothing. And we had to take the heat because we couldn't explain it. That's why you were there, Amy. That was the moment that I realized, I need to figure out how to actually speak. And it's not that I don't know my own name or how to say hello, how are you, or how much is the milk. No, I know all of that. But I was so intimidated in the professional environment that what would this 5'2" blonde girl have anything intelligent to say to any one of my peers? Apparently, I have a lot to say. But that was the beginning of my Toastmasters careers. When I had joined Toastmasters, it all came at the same time. And that was my discovery in the meetings, was realizing, just like this, I was with people who had incredible thoughts, incredible messages, and who had encouragement, who wanted to help me be better. And that's why I continued in Toastmasters, is that moment that I figured it all out, I figured that this environment was going to be the safest environment for me to ever practice with little consequences. And it was. And let me tell you about that 12-minute speech I did off the cuff that my club members so graciously tolerated, to which I learned now what 7 minutes feels like, and I can wrap my subjects up. They're very happy. All of that to say is Toastmasters is life-changing. It is what can do for you in what it will do for you, different than what it does for somebody else, but it will change your life. And I know you're probably thinking, okay, but here I am, and you're talking at the front of the room. How does this help me? You're right. We are giving you simply a taste of Toastmasters today. What you will see is the opening, a little bit about Toastmasters. You are going to see what we call a prepared speech. This is an individual who has practiced their speech, who is coming forward with their own fears, their own intimidations to practice in front of us. You are going to hear this speech. And I know, because we are all human in this room that I am aware of, is that you are going to have thoughts on what you hear. You're going to see stuff and hear stuff. You're like, wow, oh my gosh, I didn't know that her gesture matched that and just emphasized that. And while you might not know that you're doing an evaluation, it's going to hit you. And at the same time, this is going to make you a little uncomfortable, is you are going to have a moment in the speech where you're like, well, I like her. She's a really good speaker, but that didn't resonate well with me. It didn't sit well. And so what I want you to do as we hear the prepared speech is think about those ideas in your head. What did you like, and what maybe could she do to improve that message for you to hear it better, more powerfully, understand what she is driving to? And that's the prepared speech. And you're going to be thinking about all of those thoughts, and we're going to come back to that. The other notion that Toastmasters has is, of course, what we refer to as table topics, what the rest of the world refers to as impromptu speaking. We are going to put you on the spot, and we are going to scare you silly by asking you a question to answer in front of everyone. Now, I know some of you, by the way, I've said that your knees are already knocking. Rest assured, you're going to be okay. Rest assured that this is the safest environment that you will ever be in. We promise you that. And the final portion is all those thoughts. We are going to talk about the pillar of why Toastmasters is amazing. Is because we learn to give feedback in a way that people can hear it, in a way that people want it, in a way that people can actually improve with it. And so we will show you that technique all in today's meeting. So we're going to do a prepared speech. We're going to have you think during that prepared speech about what you liked and what maybe the speaker could do just a little bit better for you to hear that message. We're going to do some impromptu speaking, and we're going to have some fun with that. And then we're going to do the evaluation together. Does that sound awesome for your next 30 minutes? Awesome. Then I'd like to take this moment to welcome Lee Street to the stage. Lee Street, I am a Toastmaster.
Or as I prefer to say it, I'm a Toastmaster. And it has changed my life. I've been a Toastmaster for 17 years. And have I become a bit better speaker? I have. Have I become a bit better leader? by accident at first, but yes. But most importantly, I am a better human being. I'm a better citizen of the earth. And I was telling this to someone, pitching Toastmasters to them, and they said to me, yeah, how so? Specifically. And I stood there with my mouth hanging open for a second, and then off I went. I said, well, I can think of several. I'm going to narrow it down to five things that Toastmasters has really changed about me and made me a better person. I am a much better listener. When I listen to people now, I tell my monkey brain, stop thinking about what you want to say. Think only about what they are saying. Formulate your thoughts later. And it means that I hear more and I get more of their message. And at work, it means I don't miss important instructions thinking about how I want to rebut that. So I'm a much better listener. I am more patient. And boy, howdy, did I need that. I finally learned through Toastmasters that we all go at our own speed. And that's okay. It's okay for me to wait for you. It's okay for you to wait for me. Being more patient has had so many effects on my life. And it didn't come all at once, like kabang, here's the patience. No, I'm afraid not. It came over years. But now, when I'm exercising it under duress, I realize it, and I am grateful. I also give better feedback. And I never thought of that before Toastmasters, not even once. Did it ever occur to me? Giving feedback to people is tremendously important. Of course I use it at work. Of course I use it for performance appraisals. But I use it at home too. I use it with my family. I use it with people on the street. Instead of saying, dude, what are you doing there? You're like, you know what I have done in the past that works for me. And you give them the message in a way that they want to hear it. And it makes all the difference in the world. Once I got that straight, then I realized, oh, you know what? I need to receive feedback with a better mindset. And again, that totally changed how I see the world. I am also, number 4, I am a more helpful person. I didn't think I was before. I didn't think of things in terms of helping. Now I know I can't solve everything, but I can offer this little bit of help. And when we all offer that little bit of help, then we take that step forward. And it's gratifying in a way that I could never have imagined. Number 5, and I think I like this one the best, I am more deeply engaged in all my relationships. I feel them more deeply, I enjoy them more deeply, and I think the people in these relationships with me get that too. Several months ago, one of my favorite Toastmaster friends passed away, as is going to happen in life. And before this, I might not have let that sadness be apparent to others. Now, I'm not saying I was a weeping mess, not my style, but to let others see that I was deeply affected by this. I miss him. I still miss him. But I use that now to keep relationships honest, forthright. People know when I'm talking to them, I'm talking to them. So I am a better person. There's no question in my mind. Is there anything you wish you were a little bit better at? It doesn't have to be those things. Could be anything. I feel safe in guaranteeing you that by becoming a member of Toastmasters, you will improve. It's different for all of us. But I guarantee that you will improve in some area of your life that is important to you and that affects how you are with others. So here's what I'm going to ask you to do. Think about, what little thing would you like to be better at? And then, at the end of this meeting, come tell me what it is. I'd really be interested to know. Ladies and gentlemen, I am a Toastmaster.
So you have just heard your first Toastmasters prepared speech. Remember, you're not Toastmasters right now. Thank you very much, Lee, for that. Very inspirational, very exciting. And remember that I asked you to think and roll through your head, what did you like about the speech? What could maybe possibly be improved just a little itty-bitty bit? And I'm going to give you time to keep thinking about that while we dive into the impromptu speaking. I can see the terror and excitement in your eyes all at the same time. It's just exciting. I'm going to bring back Lee again to run our table topic session. You will learn a little bit about what it takes to speak off the cuff for 2 minutes and that nobody will in fact die. It will be okay, and we are here for you. Lee.
Thank you, Amy. Well, she's right. I've done this many times from this position, and not once has someone spontaneously combusted and just became a heap of ashes before me. Has never happened. And I assure you won't happen today. So I want to play a little game. I have this little stack of cards here that you guys have all filled out to tell us something that not many people know about you. So I'm going to read a couple of them out, and then we're going to guess, as a group, who that might be. And then eventually I'm going to ask the person who wrote this to tell us a little bit about it. They're going to do that for maybe a minute, maybe two, just tell us a little bit about what they wrote. And then it'll be over. So whoever you are, I promise you, you will be okay. Number 1. I lived in 7 different places before my 15th birthday. This person lived in 7 different places in 15 years. Who might that be? Think about this for a second. Look around. Oh, come on, somebody make a guess. I picked you. Gabriel, is it you? Did you? Have you? Is this true about you? Not at all. Okay, who do we think it's true about? Anybody? You think it's Davender? I think it's Randy. You think it's Minnie? Okay, I can't stand it anymore. Who lived in 7 different places before their 15th birthday? Woo! Didn't see that one coming. Michelle, nice to meet you. Could you tell us a little bit about that in, say, a minute or so?
So I did indeed live in 7 different places before my 15th birthday. So anybody here from Winnipeg? So that's where I was born. So I was born in Winnipeg, lived there for a couple of years, and moved to Ridgecrest, California. Lived there for a couple of years, then went from California to Cold Lake, Alberta. Yeah. It is indeed an Air Force dad. And after Cold Lake, we went to Paris in France for about 18 months. Then to Comox in British Columbia. Lived there for a couple of years. Then to Winnipeg a second time for about 2.5 years. Then I went to Greenwood, Nova Scotia, and it seems that everybody in the Air Force ends up in Greenwood at some point in their careers. And so my dad was there, and that was his second last assignment in the Air Force, because after that he went to Ottawa, and that's when he retired. So that was when my 15th birthday came along, in Ottawa. This was my 7th or 8th place by then. And after that, I spent the next 17 years in Ottawa. And from Ottawa, I moved to Montreal, and I spent the last 9 years in Montreal and counting. So for me, growing up, moving every 18 months to 2 years, that was just normal for me. And it seemed weird to live in a place for a very long time. And so that's my pre-Toastmasters history. Over to you.
Thank you, Michelle. Who knew? So you see, though, he did not spontaneously combust. It was fine, right? He talked about something he knew. He took my question, talked about something he knew, and it was easy for him. He looks pretty good. Okay, I got another one. I like this one a lot. Someone here was trained as a ship navigator. No. Thomas? No. Carrie? No. Oh, we suck at this. We're really bad. Okay, who was trained as a ship navigator? It's Denis! Da-da-da! Tell us a little bit about being a ship navigator, Denis.
I had to pay for school. So I joined the forces. And when I joined the forces, I had a choice with going where my grandfather was in the Army, or where my father went in the Air Force, or I was a teenager. I went to the Navy. And part of the Navy naval training, you can be different branches. And I like communication, but also I love navigation. So I started as a ship's officer training. And for 4 years, we progressed to the officer training, and after my officer training, I went for navigation. So I loved it so much. For 12 years, I was in the Naval Reserve and training people on how to do navigation. And 1 year, I did a Great Lake cruise, so we left Halifax all the way to Lake Huron. And one fateful evening, as we reached the top of Lake Huron, there was a storm. It was 2 o'clock in the morning. And I said, nope. I went to computers from there on.
Thank you, Denis. So this is big fun, getting to know a little bit about people, getting them feeling comfortable to speak because they're speaking about themselves. So when you are doing any impromptu speaking, think of what you know. Bring your experience into any question, and you will find you can come up with some sort of reasonable answer. It's the trick. Now, I have my own little trick, and I don't recommend it for everyone. It's okay to lie. You know, you can just do it eloquently, but it's perfectly okay to lie. But this person, I don't think is lying. They say, I played with swords. I love fencing, and I'm a saber fencer. I think it's Lucy. That's why. No. Okay, if it's one of these guys, I'm sorry. I didn't know. Who wants to guess? Who do you think is somebody that is a fencer? No? Olivier? Nope. I give up. Who is a saber fencer? Not Joe. Oh, there we go. Okay, Hannah, tell us all about being a saber fencer.
It was my very first speech. I had the coach. I liked the sword. At first, I liked the uniform because it's fancy, but I like the saber fencer because it's just from here and above. There are 3 weapons in fencing: the foil, saber, and the épée. But I chose the saber so you can run with pointed swords. So that's something that I like, but it was also something that I use in my speech in Toastmasters, and I met people, and I met an international athlete, and it opened doors for me in some ways. Then in Toastmasters, so that's how.
Wonderful, thank you. Just a couple more because I'm having fun and, it's Saturday, let's do it, right? So this person says, in all capital letters, 4 words only, I was an introvert. Who would have said that in a group like this? Amy? No. I know Amy's writing. Anybody have a guess? I think a lot of Toastmasters are natural introverts. That's why we need to do this, so we can get those promotions, so we can express the thoughts that we have. A lot of introverts are really smart people, but you don't know it because they don't speak up much, and that's what Toastmasters can really change. Who? Thomas? Okay, I give up. Who said I was an introvert? Okay, thank goodness not those guys. Nobody wrote that. Nobody remembers writing that. Okay, I know what age this person is now. No problem. Moving on. Okay, so this one is similar. Similar. I used to talk and people could not understand what I was saying. Who said I used to talk and people could not understand what I was saying? They wrote it down, not me, right? Could have been I wear polka dot underwear exclusively, but they chose not to put that. That was Kevin? I threw that one out. I didn't want to go there. This is a family meeting. So who felt that they used to speak and couldn't be understood? Minnie. Tell us in a minute or so a little bit about not being able to be understood.
Many of you guys know that neither English or my French are my first language. Speaking, it becomes really hard for me. My pastor always say to me, Minnie, I cannot understand a word you said. Still, she told me at this point. I asked him actually, why didn't I get a job? He said, well, you are not good at speaking those languages. You need to enunciate in the word what you are saying. I was so shy to speaking it, especially the French part. Especially before I came to Ottawa, je parlais rien français. Lots of people didn't know that, but actually, with the help of Toastmaster, some people actually might be thinking it helps a lot. Actually, I recognize some people actually help me a lot of things. Like Davender, Jocelyn, you guys help me a lot. But languages is a big challenge for me. And then some people say you have a very thick Chinese accent when you speak in the languages. I try to be a second language speaker, but second generation speaker, instead of people thinking that I am first generation Chinese. Chinese accent doesn't speak is English. But I would say Toastmaster helped me a lot on that. But it's very hard for me to stay in the word, to really actually sometimes emphasizing what I want to say and enunciate every single word in English. That's the first key. And second key is enunciating bon français. Le langue français, c'est vraiment difficile pour moi. Mais si vous devez donner un discours en français, correctement le grammaire seulement en français. Merci.
Thank you, Minnie. So some of you here may have had that feeling that you have thoughts, you have things you want to express, and you can't seem to express them in a way that people understand. Even if you're speaking perfectly clearly, you may not be organizing as well as you would like. And practicing that at some place like Toastmasters will have a big impact on that. I'm going to do another one. This one is a little more difficult. And sometimes in table topics, as we call them, and in real life with impromptu speaking, you will come across something that's maybe a little bit difficult. And learning how to deal with that in the moment is part of becoming a better communicator and more comfortable in your body. So here we go. This one could be a little difficult. I was in the National Assembly in Quebec City when Denis Lorte went on his shooting rampage in 1984. So that's a big thing. That's a big emotional thing. I'm not going to play the guessing game, who experienced that? Karen Freder King. Karen, This is one of those table topics, impromptu speaking, where in a group you get to choose how much you want to disclose. You don't have to tell every second of the truth. You get to decide what's comfortable for you. Karen Redricking.
Thank you, Lee. So, when I was in grade 5, I was at a French immersion school, and we did a school exchange with a school in Saint Foy. And on part of our trip in Quebec City, we went on a trip and a tour of the National Assembly. And we were in one of the chambers when we heard banging, but there's scaffolding everywhere. Everything appears to be under construction. We're little kids. We don't really understand what these sounds were until a woman came running in and saying, "Il y a un fou qui tire dans le corridor." So the French school teachers that were primarily with us in this group shut the doors and had us all under the desks and chairs. And then I don't know, probably 20 minutes or to half an hour time, a little bit unsure exactly how long we were there, but they figured out a way to get us out a back entrance. And meanwhile, the second half of our school group was outside waiting for their part of the tour. Well, that got canned. So that was quite the experience. So we were all okay. We all got evacuated okay. But there was a couple takeaways, I guess. The first is that grade 5 kids, after that, we had media following us around everywhere that we were going for the rest of our tour. Now, I was one of the shy kids and didn't really want to talk to any media or anything, but there were some, the class clowns, the ones that want to get in the face of cameras and stuff. Well, yeah, they loved it. The second thing was that the school board had established this telephone tree call-out thing. This is way before cell phones, right? So that if the bus coming home was late, they could let all the parents know in a quick and easy way. Well, they ended up using that to let all the parents know that we were all okay before they, actually they were all notified before it came out on the news. So that was then implemented as a school board policy that they would always set this sort of thing up. So anyway, unfortunately, there were some victims. There were 3 killed and 13 injured that day. And Mr. Larty served his time. And I remember hearing, I think probably in the last 10 years, he was released. He served his time. And he's, I guess, what's the word? He's now a productive member of society again, and he's living in the Gatineau area.
Thank you, Karen. So I had other choices I could have made, but I wanted to point out that this will happen. And it's probably happened to you already, where you've been there's been a difficult moment. Karen talked about something that was plainly very emotional, but she made choices about what she said and how she said it so that she got the emotion across, but didn't break down. It's a bit of a skill. And I would say maybe you couldn't do that quite as well at 25 as you can now. I, in fact, was a 5th grader myself once. Hard to believe, I know. And I, too, went on a school trip to Quebec City. I think all 5th graders must do it. It was where I fell in love with Quebec City. But nothing as traumatic as that happened. So let's just do one more fun one, and then I'll wrap it up and hand it back to Amy. Somebody here enjoys oil painting. Somebody paints with oils. I will give you a little hint. It's not me. I cannot draw with a crayon even, let alone paint. So who do we think has that artistic? Ghislaine? That's what it is to be friends, right, Ghislaine? They rat you out at the first opportunity.
Thank you. Well, it all goes back to when I was a kid. At home, we didn't have much, toys or whatsoever, so I draw. Or avec des crayons à colorier, je colorais beaucoup. And we were living on the farm, and we had horses, and I really fell in love with horses. And my father had studied farming when he was a young boy, and he had books with horses, talking about the different kind of horses, their strengths and weaknesses and whatsoever. So, kind of to please him, I used to draw horses, and when he was coming home after having spent lots of time on the farms, I was showing him my drawing. He says, I always said, oh, it's very nice, very cute. And then I grew up and didn't get into painting at all. My youngest daughter, when she was 12, at one point in time asked me to get some acrylic painting to start painting. And to encourage her, I got some books and I got into it. And then later on, I says, I went into oil painting myself, and I took some lessons with friends of mine, and I think I gave some of my paintings to anyone in the family who was celebrating an anniversary or whatsoever, and finally got kind of rid of everything that I painted, but I still do it sometimes because I enjoy the mix of colors, and sometimes I don't know what the end result would be, because I start with something so abstract, some abstractions, and but what I like also is to take photographie de la nature and reproduce it, and if it's no good, you paint on the top of it and you start back. Okay.
Thank you, Ghislaine. Okay, so I think we'll end this session now, but do we all agree that nobody really collapsed? Nobody really lost it? That we could do it? The secret, and I'm trying to sell you something, but I'm going to tell you the secret sauce. The secret sauce is practice and talk about what you know. In any situation, you'll think to yourself, I'm just going to wait until I really need to trot this out in an important time. No, wrong answer. Do it all the time with everyone. Whether or not you join Toastmasters, and of course you will, start today. Start answering those questions. Give yourself 30 seconds. Talk about what you know and reveal a little bit about who you are. And I promise you, the conversation will flow perfectly naturally. That's it for the table topic session. I'm going to pass it back now to Amy Campbell, and I think we're going to do some evaluation.
Can we have one more large round of applause for all of our speakers who had the courage to speak today? Thank you to each and every one of you. And I know that their stories were incredibly engaging on who they are and how they got here. So allow me to remind you why you are here today. You're here because you're interested in Toastmasters. And I gave you a journey as to where we were going to go. We were going to hear a prepared speech, and we heard Lee deliver that speech. Then we were going to do some impromptu speaking, table topics. And you're all still here looking at me. Fantastic. And our final bit, remember how I kept telling you to think about Lee's speech. Things that you really liked about it, and things that you maybe thought could use a little bit of improvement so you would receive that message better. This is the final portion of the pillar of Toastmasters is evaluations, and learning to give effective evaluations. Remember, you're not Toastmasters. One sentence when I ask. My fellow friends who have joined us here this evening, can you tell me, what was one thing you really liked about Lee's speech, I am a Toastmaster? Yes, good sir. You seem like you'd have something really exciting to say.
In my experience, I find that people, when they start a speech, it really starts really slow. It's like a slog. They take time and say, my name is, and the reason why I'm here today, et cetera, et cetera. And Lee just jumped right in to the topic and grabbed my attention. So thanks for waking me up.
Excellent, excellent. So we have a great point about diving right in with confidence. Oops, why am I speaking into both mics? Poor Joe. Thanks, Joe. Yes, Thierry. One thing you liked. One thing. You're not a Toastmaster.
Share her experience
Ah.
as I am a Toastmaster. Starting with it, finishing with it. That's it.
Excellent. So you liked that it had a beginning and a conclusion, and it was a message that was sharing an experience with you. Excellent, excellent. Jean-Paul.
The honesty in her voice, so that it was very paused. You have no hesitation. It was a continuous flow with variation, but it was no scaring of anything. It was answering for all of us. Listen to her.
Excellent. So very fluid speech with, I would go back to the confidence, great tone to it, great pacing and rhythm. Excellent. So we've talked about all of the great things, and we're going to lift Lee up with all of those incredibly awesome points. And I know that this is going to make some of you uncomfortable because I'm pretty sure somebody in the crowd is thinking, she's going to ask what we didn't like, but I don't want to hurt her feelings. Trust me, we will help you through those emotions. But in every speech, whether it be Tony Robbins, whether it be, whoever you think is the best public speaker in the world, there is always something that can be done differently that would help you hear that message better. So is there something that you saw or that you heard from Lee that could maybe be changed just a little bit? Gary, sorry, I don't know you. Good sir, in the black jacket.
Thank you. I'll volunteer for that one. My suggestion for improvement actually has to do with what I liked most about your speech, which was the structure. And more specifically, I love the way you started off, and I love that you yelled without doing it into the microphone. I appreciate that. But I love the way you started off with, a statement, and then you sort of repeated it at the end, which gave me an idea, okay, we're coming towards the end, at the conclusion. But the only suggestion would be maybe there were a little too many points. Instead of a top 5 or a top 10, maybe focus it down to 3 stronger points where you could elaborate more deeply on them. Although you did manage to, keep my attention through all 5, maybe by focusing down to 3.
Not a Toastmaster. Why, I believe this lovely lady has a comment as well, something that Lee could improve. Remember, you're not a Toastmaster.
I know.
One sentence.
That's going to be very short and sweet. There's nothing that I didn't like about Lee's speech. The only thing I could say that you can improve on is when you said, I stayed a minute, the mouth open. I would have loved you to mimic it. That's it.
Excellent, excellent. Okay. We could do this all day because you guys are Toastmasters. But what would happen if we were in a true demo meeting is I would put the mic down and stop speaking into 2. And I would say, in every Toastmasters meeting, there is the evaluation that I have mentioned. Every speaker has the opportunity to hear feedback on what we've just discussed. The great things that we think they did amazingly and those small things. But how do we say those items in a positive way? So if I was Lee's oral evaluator and I had all of these points that I had come up naturally on my own, I would say, Lee, first, I want to thank you for your speech because it sometimes takes a lot of courage to speak in front of a crowd of individuals who you have never met before in your life. And you started off with such a strength, getting right out of the gate, right into the speech without a hesitation. And the fact that at the beginning you didn't yell into the mic, but you held it out here, so you saved all of our ears. Thank you, Lee. That was phenomenal. And you kept up that rhythm throughout the whole speech. And while it had slower moments that were in tune with the message, it was still flowing fluidly. You guys can validate me on that one afterwards. But nonetheless, it was an incredible speech that explained your experience as a Toastmaster. And while I've never been a Toastmaster before in my life, I feel that I have an understanding through your experience I can walk away with. Now, if I can offer you one possible thing that you could do, maybe just a little bit better, is that I have a short memory. I have a really short memory. And while I want to walk away with every point that you gave, when you said 5, I couldn't remember what 1, 2, and 3 were. And then when you said 10, I panicked because I didn't know what 6 was either. And I want to know, because you were so great at your storytelling, that I wanted to know what all of those points were. So maybe if we could just focus it on a few, that would help me, the slow learner and the short memory, still be with you at the end. And I thought there was just one opportunity that you could really embrace some drama from the crowd with when you said you stood there with a minute with your mouth open, give us that uncomfortable second of, so that we could be there with you. But Lee, you really did a fantastic job of starting with why you were a Toastmaster, giving us a great experience, just a few small items of improvement, but you have handled that mic amazingly. Thank you for concluding why you are a Toastmaster. And that, my friends, is a Toastmasters evaluation. And you can probably tell the difference between that style, and I always use my spouse as the example. If I want him to make me steak dinner and he burns it, I don't look at him and say, "You burnt it." Because he's not going to make me steak dinner again. And we want Lee to come back to the lectern every time. So we want to give her positive words. We always want to give her a point of improvement, but we want to give her positive words. And if you think about it, each one of you contributed to that evaluation, allowing her to walk away feeling amazing. And we know she's coming back at the next deck meeting. Right, Lee? Excellent. Now, we will be around for the next 15 minutes. Rest assured that you have seen a taste of Toastmasters. There is all kinds of other elements to Toastmasters, but we wanted you to have this sample. When you come to a club meeting, you will learn more about all of that, and a club member will be with you to help guide you through the process and the procedures, because that's a whole new level of excitement and joy that will bring learning into your life. But we will be here for another 15 minutes, and we are happy to answer any questions you have. And by all means, if you want to sign up for the club today, we can help you do that.
Oh, you're back to being Toastmasters. Whew, thank God, right? Not being a Toastmaster was really hard. So what we were trying to point out here is we actually did have a third person involved, and life happens and he couldn't be here. But the show went on, and that was part of the point. The show can go on, and it doesn't have to be as perfectly planned as you think it does. Did you feel like you were experiencing something that could really happen? That demonstration, did you feel like that was possible? Because it is. It actually is. Karen? Yes, 100% Rick Verbish method, 100%. That table topics part in particular is him. He makes it great fun, but he does it with a lot of people, and he could pull out just the most fun and interesting things. Had I thought about it more, I probably would have taken out the executive ones, but they were good stories, that's for sure. So that's the main point, that this can be done. Now, I don't want to hold you forever, but are there any questions you want to ask right now as a Toastmaster? Yes, Terry.
It's a comment, a remark. This is for a demonstration. Okay, I experienced it during an open house. I did it with the Rick Verbish method in an open house, and especially for the table topic, I did what you did. On virtually, of course, it works perfectly. So this idea of a demo can be used during an open house, and it's very fantastic, and people feel it very easy, especially the table topic part. So they speak about what they know, what they like, their passion, etc. So
Absolutely.
experience it, it's fantastic.
Absolutely. Thanks, Terry. I'm going to pass this to Amy before we get this squealing sound. Anybody else have any thoughts, comments, questions? Kevin? We're putting the district director to work.
Sure. For the demo meeting was fantastic. If I was someone that wasn't with Toastmasters, I would come back. Any constructive criticism would be is that yes, it's fantastic. I got the message that you come to Toastmasters, you're going to become a better person. You're going to be more patient. You're going to be more engaging. But what about this? Your vocabulary will improve. Your communication skills will improve. Your grammar will improve. Your language skills will improve. I think emphasis on that too.
All of those things are 100% true. And I think we've all experienced that. I think in a demo meeting, I would caution against saying there are too many things you suck at. So I think we pick a few that we think fits a particular group and emphasize those. They'll learn soon enough, but we don't want to tell people there are 10 things you're not doing very well because that just makes them sad. Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Can't figure out which mic I'm using. A lot of what makes this method amazing is that it strips out all of that back and forth at the lectern, because by the third exchange, everybody who's not a Toastmaster their head is spinning and they have no idea what's going on. And the goal is you want them out of that meeting having a win. Having spoken, having contributed to an evaluation, they win. Because they either go, my ego's so big, I need to do this again because wow, was that ever awesome? Or they are so incredibly shy that they're like, wow, I need to do that because that was painful and I know it's good for me and I know it will help. So it's taking it all away to the bare minimum of the win for them.
I like the idea of making a demo meeting a bit personal. You don't want to just sell them the features and benefits like you're selling them a steak or a house or a used car. You know, you want people to see the real you and to have that connection. And it's easily done. You guys do it in your clubs all the time. You can do it with open houses, and I think it's perfect in open houses. You could have 2 speeches if you like. And it makes others who don't know Toastmasters think, oh, this isn't the cult I thought it was. This, this could really work. So, being yourself and talking about things in an excited yet humble way, I think really, really works. One more comment and then we'll shut it down. Minnie? Oh. How much if you want to join? We will be here after the meeting.
How much if I want to join the
How much if you want to join? It varies from club to club, but as a basis, it's $45 for 6 months US. There's so many questions that you might have in that regard, and I can answer them easily for you offline. Happy to do it. I've brought everything we need to get you all that information. Back to our district director to end this session.
Huge thank you to Lee for doing that one.